Welcome everybody to a Grueling Truth Sports Network special. The Grueling Truth, as always, is powered by betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding the online sportsbook or casino that's right for you. Check them out at betting.net. All right, guys, today we're going to talk about the top prop bets for winning next year's Super Bowl. The Cincinnati Bengals came up a few yards short in the last minute of last year's Super Bowl. They had huge odds to win the Super Bowl against them. Would have paid off huge. Today, we're going to go ahead and look at the 4 top prop bets for winning the Super Bowl. Now, what we're talking about for is I actually have 2 teams on here that I think really actually could win the Super Bowl. 2 more teams that are long shots, but I think they have a good shot to make the playoffs. If you get into playoffs, you got a chance to win. So you might as well bet a little bit of money on a team that's a huge underdog. We're going to start off, we're going to go ahead, we're going to check out FanDuel, and we're going to post a link in the description and a video down below for FanDuel, and we're going to go ahead and give you our 4 top prop bets. All right, guys, we're going to start off, and this is in no specific order. Well, the order is this. The order is the first 2 teams are teams that I think could definitely have a shot to make it to the Super Bowl. Where the next 2 teams that we'll talk about are teams that I think have a really legit shot to make the playoffs. And the odds are so long that I think that it's worth really placing a bet on them. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to share the screen here so you can actually see FanDuel's odds. And you'll be able to see what they would pay off. So when we look at this, my 4 teams, my number 1 team is the Cincinnati Bengals. Last year, they were long odds to get in. They got in. They got to the Super Bowl. They almost pulled it off. So what about this Bengals team really stands out to me? I mean, number 1, what stands out to me is this. If I bet $100 on the Bengals to win the Super Bowl right now, as you can see, it pays off $2,200. That's not a bad payoff, on a $100 bet. But when I look at the Cincinnati Bengals, the thing that stood out to me is this. Last year, they came up just short of winning the Super Bowl. And in coming up just short of winning the Super Bowl, the offensive line was a huge issue with the Cincinnati Bengals last year. Well, with guys like La'el Collins, Alex Kappa, Karras, this team has improved the offensive line exponentially. The one issue that I would have would be the defensive backs with Jesse Bates, who looks like he may be ready to hold out to get a new contract. But you did have Dax Hill, who was picked late in the first round, which was a great value pick for the Cincinnati Bengals. And when you look at the Bengals defensively, Logan Wilson at the linebacker, you've got a defensive front that is extremely strong. They were last year. I think they're only going to get better. Joseph Asai, who was a 3rd-round pick who missed all of last season with an injury, will be an upgrade there. The DBs will be loaded. On the offensive side of the ball, as we already talked, you have an improving offensive line. You have Joe Burrow, who, for my money, is the best quarterback under the age of 25 in the NFL. I think you saw him do something Justin Herbert couldn't do, and Justin Herbert was put in a better situation and still hasn't made it to the playoffs. You've got Joe Mixon in the backfield. You've got some weakness at the tight end. They did replace C.J. Uzomah with a guy in Hunter Hensley who's pretty much C.J. Uzomah. So I don't think there's a big drop-off there. And you've got the 3 best wide receivers in the league. And if you look at the triplets, which is the quarterback, the running back, the wide receiver, the Bengals had the best offense in the NFL. They're explosive. They can run the ball. And with that improved offensive line, I think the Bengals have a legit shot here. The only issue is they do play in a really tough division in the AFC North. The Baltimore Ravens defensively will be good. Lamar Jackson will be back and healthy, but they lost their number 1 receiver, Hollywood Brown. I mean, right there it'll tell you their issue. Their number 1 receiver was Hollywood Brown, and they haven't really upgraded from that. The Pittsburgh Steelers defensively will be very good. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be, whether it's going to be the rookie or whether it's going to be Mason Rudolph, which I'm a Bengals fan, so I'll cross my fingers there and hope for Mason Rudolph. They do have Najee Harris, but the Pittsburgh Steelers look doomed. The Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Watson, and everything that's happened to him over the last week or 2 to throw on to what happened the last year and a half, doesn't look good for Deshaun Watson even playing this year to me. So the Cincinnati Bengals would be one of my top 4 picks. Number 2 will be the Indianapolis Colts, which I know will surprise a lot of people. I'm not a huge Colts fan, but I do believe when you look at this division, the big thing about the Colts, there's not a whole lot of competition here. I do think the Jaguars and Texans have gotten better. And if you put a $100 bet on the Indianapolis Colts right now, as you see, it pays off $2,200. Not a bad payoff, especially for a team that I think will win their division. Now, when you look at him, you've got Matt Ryan and Nick Foles at quarterback now. Carson Wentz, to me, played well last year, but he kind of puked on himself the last couple games of the season, which Carson Wentz has a propensity to do during his NFL career. You got Darius Leonard at the running back. Darius Leonard is one of the top 2 or 3 running backs in the NFL right now. Wide receiver, you added a guy like Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce is a guy who I think is being very underrated here. Pierce was a Cincinnati Bearcat. I watched him play a lot. The kid is fast. He's big. He's strong. You pair him up with Michael Pittman. If you can get a healthy Paris Campbell, you're good there. The offensive line is solid. Tight ends, I think, is a weakness on this team. When you look at the defense, I think they definitely strengthened the defense. You got Yannick Ngakoue. He's with Kwity Paye, who I'm not completely sold on, but Ngakoue in himself will make the pass rush better. You get DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart, very good defensive tackles. Of course, as I talked, you get Darius Leonard, who's one of the best linebackers in the NFL. You added Stephon Gilmore to the defensive backfield. They need to get things straightened out with Kenny Moore. They need Kenny Moore to be able to have the team that they need to have, so they got to figure out something there. The safety position, I think you're still going to struggle a little bit with depth, but when you look at the division, the Tennessee Titans are basically sitting there with Ryan Tannehill. I think Ryan Tannehill's a good quarterback. People give him crap because of the 3 interceptions against the Bengals. Why doesn't anybody give Patrick Mahomes crap about 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter and overtime that lost to the Cincinnati Bengals? Kind of the same thing there, but the guys are treated differently because Patrick Mahomes is supposed to be Superman and Ryan Tannehill's just supposed to be a guy. Ryan Tannehill, for my money, he's in the top half of quarterbacks in the league. The other issue with the Tennessee Titans is you got Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry got hurt last year, missed 2 months of the season. They still went 12-5, still won the division, which will tell you how good Ryan Tannehill is and the division, or not the division, but the defense. The offensive line for the Titans is not great. That is a huge question. You lost A.J. Brown, your number 1 receiver. You replaced him with a rookie. I'm not convinced that rookie is that great of a player. I don't see the Tennessee Titans doing anything but going down this year. I think they're an 8-9 win team, which means 10 wins get you the division if you're the Colts. And remember, with a futures bet, we want to make sure that we're in the playoffs come time to give us a shot at that futures bet. Now, Jacksonville, I think, has improved. I think Houston's improved. Davis Mills, I think, is a good quarterback. Trevor Lawrence, jury's still out on it. I never would have thought a year ago that I would switch those guys. I would be talking about Trevor Lawrence as a good quarterback on a bad team, and Davis Mills as a guy the Houston Texans need to replace. That's simply not the case after watching last year. Now the question marks are more with Trevor Lawrence. All right, now we're going to go for 2 longer shots here. We're going to go with the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints right now are plus 4,000. When we look at the Saints at plus 4,000, it gets real interesting if you want to throw a $100 bet there. You throw $100 on the New Orleans Saints to win the Super Bowl, it pays $4,000. And really, you can laugh about the Saints possibly being a Super Bowl team with Jameis Winston, but these odds are much better than what you would have had betting on the Bengals last year to win the Super Bowl. So don't overlook things, because sometimes things aren't what they seem. And I think this New Orleans Saints team is a good football team. I think they're going to make the playoffs. And when I look at the Saints, I mean, there's people that will tell you Jameis Winston is an interception machine. And truth be told, he was in Tampa Bay. Not all his fault, though. The offensive line was weak. It was not the offensive line Tom Brady had. He didn't have near the weapons Brady had. He did have weapons. But, you know, if he throws 34 touchdowns, he's going to throw 34 interceptions on a team like that. Last year, interceptions were not an issue for Jameis Winston before he got hurt. Before he got hurt, the former number 1 overall pick was 5-2 in 7 games. The Saints were in good shape. He'd thrown 14 touchdown passes and 3 interceptions. So I think an upgrade in the coaching staff, an upgrade in the players around him, especially in the offensive line, really helped him. And I'm not saying Bruce Arians is not a good football coach, but I don't think he is anywhere near the level Sean Payton was. Of course, Payton's gone. You got Dennis Allen now, which I don't think was a good hiring. But when you look at this team, I mean, I think that Jameis Winston is good enough to win them games. You got to compete with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but that's about it. His wide receivers have been restructured. Now you've got Michael Thomas, you got Jarvis Landry, you got Chris Olave, who's from Ohio State. This offense, if Alvin Kamara can stay out of trouble and he's not in jail when the season starts, you've got Kamara at running back, Thomas Landry and Chris Olave at wide receiver. Jameis Winston's going to have a big year. And I mean, the Saints, even with Peyton's departure, are better than what you could have imagined if they stay healthy. I mean, the Saints have also strengthened the secondary by signing a honey badger, Tyrone Matthew. And when you look at this team, I think the defense is solid. The running game is going to be excellent. Alvin Kamara is one of the best in the game. And the weapons on offense for Jameis Winston are huge. When you look at the division, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have to worry you because they'll have Tom Brady, who I think starts drawing Social Security next year, as a quarterback. They're still loaded all over the place. But remember this, the NFC as a whole is not loaded. I mean, the Green Bay Packers have Aaron Rodgers, but now they don't have Devontae Adams. The LA Rams don't have, the LA Rams, I almost said St. Louis Rams. The LA Rams no longer have Von Miller. That's going to be a big loss for them. So to think the Saints could end up being one of the top 5 or 6 teams in the NFC, I don't think is that out there. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put a little bit of money on the Saints, see what happens there. Now, another one that I think is interesting, and this is another plus 4,000. So we're going to go through the exercise of showing you what the Miami Dolphins pay. It's going to be the same as the last one. A $100 bet on the Dolphins to win the Super Bowl pays $4,000. Now, I like those odds. I mean, this is a football team that really improved themselves this season. Now, they are in a tough division with the Buffalo Bills, the New England Patriots, an improved New York Jets team. But when I look at this, the Miami Dolphins, this is all going to come down to whether Tua Tagovailoa can be a quarterback or not. He's got Tyreek Hill now. I mean, he's got weapons all over the place. You've got a new coach, which I think helps. I mean, I think that Brian Flores was fired for a reason. I think that reason was he never wanted Tua to be his quarterback. Now, we're going to find out if he was right or not in the end. But this Miami Dolphins team sets up, they look like a complete team on paper. Really similar to the Philadelphia Eagles, who are plus 2,200. But I think Miami has even more talent maybe than Philadelphia. I also think Tua is slightly better than Jalen Hurts. That's not saying much because I'm not a big fan of Jalen Hurts. I think there's still the jury out on Tua Tagovailoa on whether he can be an elite quarterback, whether he can take this team to the playoffs. But if he plays well, if he's an above-average quarterback, there's enough talent here for them to win the division because you see all these people talking about the AFC West. Not all 4 teams from the AFC West are going to make it. And my guess is 2 of those teams in the AFC West will be around 500 at best. So the AFC West is the best division. The AFC is the toughest division. And the thing about the AFC, if you look at the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, probably 7 or 8 of them reside in the AFC, which means if the Dolphins were to pull this off, Tua Tagovailoa has got to play well. I don't know if that's possible, guys, to tell you the truth. But at plus 4,000, I think it might be worth it a little bit to place a wager on it. All right, we're going to go ahead. We're going to wrap it up, but we're also going to have some future bets in the future on The Grueling Truth, talking about possible NFL MVP winners. We'll give you the long odds there, where you might be able to make some money. Maybe even look at each division to see who we would bet on in the futures to win each division. So make sure you keep an eye out here. Make sure you check out the click on the link in the description there in the video. For FanDuel, they were what was used today for the odds for those future bets on the NFL. So for now, guys, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to wrap it up. But I am Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.